And it is a Friday. It's one of my favorite days of the week. And this is one of my favorite times because this is a time we get to speak to you all out there in the real world and hopefully share with you some ideas and concepts that will sincerely help you move to where you want to go, not only in business, but in your personal life. So, first of all, I want to thank you for joining us today. If you're here on the live, and if you're watching us on the replay, which a lot of people do, we really appreciate your support, your likes, your loves, and all that kind of stuff. So, this is CVC Home Service Success Network, and it's sponsored every week by the CVC Success Group, which is our company. And we work with people all across the United States and all kinds of home service endeavors. We have a couple specialties that we work in, what we call our niches. But hey, we're actually outside of just those niches and work with other people. So today, we got one of those topics that hopefully will be a benefit. And we're going to give you access to a free tool in this session today. So, what are we talking about? Well, Christmas is on everybody's mind right now. You look at it, it's hurly burly. It's like speed up. The stores are packed. Everything's going on. Traffic is atrocious. I mean, Cheryl was just talking about ordering her groceries before we went live. So she didn't have to go through the grocery store with the pain of going through there on a holiday week, which can be a pain. And we were just talking about this is a service that, hey, she's happy to pay for. And we just went through a discussion of this, of the value that this service provides her. Okay. So here's what we're going to talk about today. As we get past Christmas next week, and just a few days after that comes what we call the new year. That's right, the new year. And we transition into the year of 2024. And one of the big challenges will be just writing 2024 when we write a date. If you're like me, it takes a couple weeks to get used to doing this. But it's time to stop. And it's time to take a look at what you've been going through this year and how you can make it better and how you're not suffering the pain a year from now that you may be suffering right now. So we're going to talk about, resolutions. We're going to talk about goals. And we're going to talk about commitments. And like I said, stick with us because I'm going to share a really neat tool in here that we've developed that we're going to be providing free to anybody that just goes to the link and wants to use this. So Cheryl, let's talk to you. You're a Ziegler coach, and goals are a really big thing in the Ziegler organization. And I'm Maxwell, and goals and commitments are really big. And Brandy, likewise, it's the goals, commitments, and deciding what you're going to do and how you're going to do it is vastly important. So when I say the words goals, resolutions, commitments, what's your thoughts on this and how important these are in order to get to where you're wanting to go?
Well, unless you have a goal, you don't know where you're headed. I mean, it's kind of like a football game. They're not out there running around for the fun of it. They're running to the goal. And that's one way that we always looked at it. That goal is the end zone. And when you reach your goal, the problem is most people quit right there. What they need to do is look at that as the beginning of the next goal. And so that was the one thing Ziegler would teach was um, you had to have your goals to be able to get to them. And a goal not written down is just a thought.
So, what were some of the things that they taught you at Ziegler about how to keep people pointed in the right direction? As a coach, that's what we have to do. We don't do the work for them, but we have to guide them. Sometimes we have to push them. Sometimes we have to kick them because often it involves change. So, as I say all that, what would Zig say about that if he were alive today?
Well, the one thing you can make no one's goals. Only thing you can do is aid them getting there. And that was one of Ziegler's main points was to get you where you wanted to go. And the way you get where you want to go is help other people get where they want to go. So with that, he would teach us, or the teachings after that, to set up our goals. We have journals, we have things that we need to write things down so we could reach our goals. He was always behind you. He told us always to be behind the people and aid them any way you can. You cannot make anything happen, but you just have to be hold them accountable a lot of times. I think that was the biggest thing. Just be there and hold them accountable.
Yeah. So, Randy, you work with a lot of people and you have calls with office staff people. And sometimes you become almost an office manager of sorts because people come to you. Sometimes they come to you because they got ideas. They need affirmation that their ideas are right. That's what I often find because often the answer a question I ask is, well, what do you think? So when we talk about goals and commitments and those type of things and resolutions, what comes to mind in your thought process?
Well, I was just thinking about my drive this week. So I started a new job, a new nursing job working at two different hospitals. Neither hospital is close to my home. And there's about four different ways I can go to get there. So if I get up in the morning and decide, oh, I think I'll take this route today, I can do that, but I'm probably going to get stuck in traffic. I'm probably going to waste more gas and I'm probably going to be late to work. And my goal is to get there on time in the most efficient manner possible, using the least amount of fuel as possible. So even though I know how to get there, I put it into Google Maps every morning. And each morning it'll take me a different way based upon how traffic is. So Google Maps is helping me achieve this goal, just like the free tool that you're going to be handing out that you've handed out for years that I think is just such a huge help will help our clients and anyone listening to this achieve their goals in 2024.
Thank you very much. And that's really good. And it is a great thing. So, as we go into this, what we're talking about is we're going to provide you, and I'm going to show the link in just a minute, what's called a self analysis and goal setting form. And what part of this is, it looks at what we call the wheel of your business, because we actually took this from a Dick Ziegler concept of the wheel of life. And I want Cheryl to explain the wheel of life in a minute. But on the wheel of success on this self analysis form, there's a lot of segments of your business, such as you've got sales and marketing, you've got operations, you've got administration, you've got leadership, and you've got personal. So, what all these are the various spokes. But often in business, some of these spokes are not round. Okay, they're not the same length. So as that wheel starts turning and it hits these bumps in the road, such as under operations, Brandy, how often do we see that waste is such a big pothole that people fall into over and over?
Every day, people could probably hire two or three more employees with what they spend in waste every year.
It's very, very true. You know, when you look at the waste factor and the amount of money that goes out just in waste, it's amazing. It's a large percentage of the gross of the business. When you look at it, waste becomes your highest paid employee. You know, insurance, a very high paid part of your business, but it's a necessary evil, and insurance rates are drastically rising. So you've got to take a look at what your cost of doing business is, and you got to eliminate any costs that are not building ROI, return on investment. So, Cheryl, when you went through the Ziegler training, the wheel of life was a big part of that. So, why don't we talk about that, about the wheel of life for a minute? What's the deal with the wheel of life?
The wheel of life was broke up much like you were talking about, but it was in your personal, it was your financial, it was your business, it was family, it was religion, and it was broken down in all different segments. And it was cast out from 0 to 10. And you had to answer a few questions that would add up, that would fill in each spoke. And if you're lucky, your wheels round. And then after you mark them, okay, like you're 8 here and 9 here and 6 here, then you connect the dots and you can see literally, is your wheel round? Are you missing one where you're not? Let's say family. If your family's really low, then but everything else is high, you're losing out on the family spoke. So Ziegler was one of the people that really went for other people to work to have a well-rounded life. We call it home life balance now. But it's basically the same thing. You balance out every segment of yourself until, if you're lucky, you can get more round, and it takes out the stress and the niches because everything's uniform. And that was what he would strive for. And they still use it. I've not seen it changed. It's still just as it used to be.
Yeah. So, Cheryl, let me ask you another question. A big part of getting things accomplished is planning your time out properly. And this is where so many people have a problem. And this is also one of the processes that people need to understand going into the new year, because this is the most common thing I hear. Jerry, I just don't have the time. Jerry, there's just not enough hours in the day. But then I got to ask the question, what are you working on? Because I honestly feel like you got to be working on the thing that can make the biggest difference to you tomorrow. And so many times we're spread out, and most people can't operate in a spread out mode. So, Brandy, as I say all that, what thoughts does that bring to you?
It makes me think to my daily planner. So years ago, I went to a daily planner that is lined out hour by hour. Actually, it's actually lined out in 30-minute increments for the entire day. And that's how I plan my day, is by going through there and blocking out chunks of time for my meetings, chunks of time to do my reconciling, chunks of time to check my email. And, you know, people say they don't have enough time. We all have the same 24 hours in a day. It's what we do with that. And what I find is people prioritize their time where they want to, whether that be binging Netflix or whether that be working on the business.
Yeah, but if binging on Netflix is part of what you want to do, then
Build it in.
you've got to set the time for this,
Mm-hmm.
because both you and Cheryl are bingers, okay?
We are.
Y'all, there comes a time in the evening, Brandy, that I know this is Brandy time, okay? And you never hear from me during that time. I never text you or anything else. And I also know that when I don't get a return from a text, you're tied up with something. So, Cheryl, what's your thoughts on the planning thing? Because this was a big part of the Ziegler process. And in fact, there was a Ziegler planner that you used to use.
I still use it. It's just not as evident to people as it used to be, because I also use, the calendar on the phone that gives me dings. So, does it? Some people would say it's wasting time to put a date on your calendar, but then put in your planner too. But you can't carry the planner with you. And if I'm going to the doctor or something, and I've got to make sure I've got days open, I need it where I can literally see it. But I hate online planners. I like the pen and pencil planner because I can write my thoughts out beside it too. It's not just like a calendar, and I don't know if Randy does this, but I don't just put read a book. I would put read this book or write this report. It's more than just my little notes on my phone that keeps me dinging a lot of times to make sure I get to appointments. But I like the planner because I can put my feelings. And then on the backside is almost like a journal. You don't have to run an extra journal. And then you just keep them and you put them away. And it's amazing how many times I've gone back to the past year to see what's happened.
Yeah, you go through, and that's what I'm going to encourage each of you that are listening us to do. Over the next week, before we get to January 1st, put a little time on your calendar this week. Seriously. And what you want to do is download this jot form. I'm serious. This is not a little short form. It's going to ask you a lot of questions. In fact, we added a question to it this morning because I asked Cheryl, Brandy, and Josh, tell me if you have any additional things, and she came up with one. So we added that, and we may add more because the way this thing's set up, we can go in and edit and add extra questions as long as Brandy can do it for me, because I ain't figured out how to add the questions yet. I can edit it, but I can't add nothing. So, that's one of her specialties. But again, what didn't work for you in 2023? In the last couple months, if you're in the chimney or the hearth industry, it's been stressful. It is all, and it's overwhelming. So how do you make the changes that come next fall, the fall of 2024, where it is not an overwhelming wrecking your lifetime? I mean, I'm gonna go over to Brandy. Brandy, you are a glutton for pain. I almost feel like. First of all, she's working at Blues Brothers. Then she's doing coaching and consulting with our clients. And then she got this thing that she wanted to be back involved in nursing and took on a job working in 2 hospitals. So, Brandy, how do you manage this?
I'm very well organized and it's all very well planned out. Like Cheryl, I have the paper calendar, and then actually technology's gotten so far. For example, my hospital schedule, it syncs. They use an app and it syncs with my calendar on my phone. So as soon as I schedule that shift, it syncs with my family calendar on my phone so my family knows. And then I put it into Calendly so my clients can schedule around that. But it does take, again, that planning and preparation. I'm not just willy-nillying it because nothing's going to happen if I do.
So, in the case of Blues Brothers, if you did not have a good staff, and I mean a good staff in your office and in your leadership side, it wouldn't work for you, would it?
Oh, I couldn't do it. I tell them all the time that it's their fault that I went back to nursing, because they don't need me here as much. They really don't need me here at all.
So they drove you away because of their effect. Now, folks, listen to this. This is what I hear people want to do. They want a business that can run without them. They want to remove this. Well, I keep this on my desk as a set of handcuffs. And there's so many business owners that they got these handcuffs clapped. They can't spend time with their families. They are so stressed out. It is unreal. And it's actually, Brandy, from a health aspect, what does this kind of stress do to the normal human body?
It will lead to heart disease, could lead to a premature heart attack due to the stress. It can lead to Alzheimer's. It can honestly, I work in a psych hospital. It can lead to burnout to where you end up having to be committed to a psych hospital. That's one of the worst case scenarios, but I see it. It can do a lot of damage that you don't even realize is going on internally. A lot of times, if you are that stressed out, you're also not going to the gym, you're not eating healthy. So it's going to lead to weight gain. There's just a whole host of problems.
Okay, so that's what I mean. This unhealthy lifestyle of the stress, the not eating right, the skipping meals. And I'm saying this to a young lady that's working 12-hour shifts in a hospital that doesn't have to get time to eat during that 12-hour shifts. Okay, I'm getting on her case just a little bit right now. What about you, Cheryl? How do you see that the stress of this wheel that doesn't roll right, what does it do to people? I mean, you deal often with new clients. In fact, we just added a new client in the last couple weeks, and you were involved because part of their stress is they've got to build a great recruiting program, and building it from the social media, from the Indeed, from using Applicant Pro, all the various systems that you use and recommend. But how do you see it affects their personal lifestyle?
Well, that and a lot of other things. Even us, Brandy and her family, you get a little stressed, your tension goes up, your voice elevates, you look like you've lost your best friend all the time. you're all always continually asking someone, are you okay? And the stress is like, I'm fine. And so after a while the arguments began. Well, then you can't, if you're putting this into the business realm, you can't think about the business because you're trying to keep your family together. So is it hard? Yes, it is. Anytime in off season or in busy season, one of the two, you're going to be stressed. You just have to sit back and have another glass of tea or something. Just take a couple breaths, because the doctors wouldn't have you monitoring stress all the time if it was good for you.
Yeah, got you covered. So, Brandy, you got anything else to add to this discussion today about resolutions, commitments,
I'm
goals? Is there
thinking
anything you
about
would
the
add?
tool again, your self-analysis tool, because I remember years ago when I saw it for the first time, it gave me stress and anxiety because it is so long and comprehensive. And so I guess what I would tell our viewers and our listeners is we want you to complete the whole thing, but if it's too stressful or overwhelming because it seems so long, you have it broken up very nicely into sections, such as marketing, your leadership team. Pick a couple of areas to work on, pick a couple of areas to fill out the analysis on, and don't feel like you have to fill out the whole thing. Ideally, we want you to, but we don't want it to be so stressful that then you just push it to the side and don't do it at all.
Right. And also, here's another idea. If you have people that are key in your company or maybe key in your life, such as a spouse, so maybe it's an adult child, why don't you give this form to them and ask them to fill it out for you? A lot of times, and that's what people say about coaching. A lot when I go in to do an analysis, I see things that they just don't see. We call it looking at with a 30,000-foot view. But so often we are so stressed up, we just can't see the simple answer. Brandy, do you see that in your coaching practice?
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah. And what happens is now dealing with what you're dealing with in the medical world, you can see where this stress builds up to where people actually kind of go off the deep end. It,
Yeah, and they literally have to take a vacation at a hospital to deal with the stress and usually have to be put on medication to deal with it because they've let it get to that point.
yeah. So Cheryl, what about you? Any last words on this?
Mine's more on a personal note. If you're going to make a New Year's resolution, make a New Year's resolution that you really intend to keep.
Well, that's why I don't like to call them resolutions.
Yeah.
They need to be commitments, because what I see is people make New Year's resolutions. They probably don't last till the middle of January, and they have already stopped that commitment. They have stopped that commitment. So, anyway, appreciate you joining us today. We wish every one of you that you have the most Merry Christmas out there, that your holidays are happy. As you look at this, keep in mind, sometimes, you're going to look back later in life. I know at mine and Cheryl's point in life, we see our grandkids, okay? And our grandkids are now, we got grandkids that are adults this time, at this point, okay? And, we keep wondering, when are we going to have our first great grandchild? We wonder when that, and Cheryl's got the finger up over her mouth, but you're exactly
Only
right.
when they're ready.
So I'm going to put this comment up from Felicity. You can't change what you don't commit to. And that is exactly right. You have got to commit. And this is what I found out about change. So often, it takes true pain. It really does. We have to be in pain. But pain is often the changer of things. So take some time over this Christmas holiday, over this little break you've got right now. Spend a little time and put together your goals, your commitments of what you're going to do in the year 2024. And with that, we are CVC Success Group. If you need help getting through the maze of overwhelming things that are in your life, reach out to us. We might just have the answers for you with the team that we have assembled here, and we will be honored and pleased and privileged to have a conversation with you. And with that, we'll see you next week on the next episode of the CVC Home Service Success Network. Have a fantastic holiday, y'all.